God talked about money, wealth, and possessions more than he talked about heaven or hell. I was financially illiterate. I had $250,000 in credit card debt that I could no longer rob Peter to pay Paul. Your fee was $500. Hers was $5,000. She must be better. Ouch. If you want to know the purpose of a thing, consult the creator of a thing. Why not play big, go big, do big, and bring big into the bank account?
Is it easier to make $100,000 or $1 million in why?
It's easier to make $1 million.
Okay.
And it's easier because you're expending the same amount of energy. And I think that it is hard to sell the dream when you look like a nightmare.
Hey, hold on, man. Hold on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. This is going to be an absolutely amazing show. We have a powerhouse entrepreneur who's built an 8-figure empire. And if you want to learn how to grow and scale your business the right way so you can finally start commanding your value in the marketplace, and this is an episode that you don't want to miss. And most importantly, doing it from a place of abundance. So with no further ado, Dr. Darnyelle, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. That rhymed. No further ado.
Yeah, hey, look, you know, already start off on the right foot.
Yeah, so how you feeling? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here with you powerhouses. And I just know this is going to be a conversation that is going to change some lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a lot of powerhouse energy in the room right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So the question I got off the back is a question I love asking entrepreneurs. I think it would be really good to ask you this. Is it easier to make $100,000 or $1 million in why?
It's easier to make $1 million.
Okay.
And it's easier because you're expending the same amount of energy. Now, what is going to have to change in order for you to shift from 100K to $1 million is that you're going to have to think way bigger. Right? See, what happens a lot of times is entrepreneurs, especially in this online marketplace that we're in, is they're focusing on selling a 10K offer and calling it high ticket. That ain't high ticket. A high ticket offer in my world, it starts at 250K. So if you were to sell 250K offers, now you're going to have to understand who your client is. You're going to have to understand their problems, their pain points, the symptoms and scenarios they find themselves in that they have been extremely unsuccessful at trying to solve on their own. And you're going to have to position yourself much higher, but you only need to close 4 deals versus however many you're going to have to close if you're selling 10, I guess, if you're doing 10K at a time. Yeah. It's the same energy. So if we're expending the same energy, why not play big, go big, do big, and bring big into the bank account?
For sure. I think, somebody watching this, right, they're going to have a limiting belief. They're going to say, sure, it's easy for you to say you've been an entrepreneur for over how long? Over
17 years. 17
years, right? Almost 2 decades, right? What do you think has to shift from a belief standpoint for a person to even have the audacity, right? Even no matter how good they are, you have to have a certain level of audacity to say, my fee is $250,000, right? Yeah. What belief system shifts do you feel like a person has to have in order for that to happen?
Yeah, there's probably 3 that come up right away. Number 1, you need to see yourself the way that God sees you. I mean, we're created. I mean, Genesis 1:26 says, let us make man in our image and likeness. Let us give him power, authority, and dominion over everything, even money, right? Yeah. So you have to see yourself the way that God sees you. And if you did, then we would never be asking the question about value or worth.
Okay, that's real.
Because our worth is not in question. That was established before we were even formed in our mother's womb. So that's the first thing. The second thing that really has to shift is you have to look at the value that is associated with the problem that you solve and not your time. The average entrepreneur was an average employee who got paid by the hour. And so we come into entrepreneurship with this hour by hour mentality when we need to go by solution. And if I can solve your problem and that solution that I bring to you saves you $10 million over the next 3 years, why in the hell would I charge you $10K for that?
Yeah. Right.
But because we don't understand and we're so engrossed and ingrained into working by the hour, we think that if we get paid $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, we're doing something. Listen, I used to be the same exact way. When I first became an entrepreneur, I'll never forget, I got a call. I listed my speaking abilities in this online directory and actually got the phone to ring. Yeah. And I got on the phone with the man, Mr. Taylor. I will never forget Mr. Taylor. Yeah. And he was like, oh, we want to have you come out and speak. You've got a powerful story. They're going to love you. How much? I said $500 because in my mind, I was an
$500 is
employee
straight.
who made $50 an hour.
Right, that's
I
10
mean,
times.
10x,
10x
right?
for the same
Right,
hour?
for the
Yeah.
same hour. What?
Yeah.
Except it didn't move Mr. Taylor. He said he would call me back. He never called me back. Weeks go by. I call him, and I'm courageous, and I'm like, Mr. Taylor, I was waiting on a contract. What happened?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we decided to go in another direction.
Yeah.
And I asked the question that I think often we don't ask. Would you mind sharing why? And he simply said, we found an entrepreneur and speaker who was willing to come and speak to us for $5,000. Your fee was $500. Hers was $5,000. She must be better. Ouch.
Yeah. That hits.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Because we don't understand, because we're thinking about it by the hour. It's not your time, it's the result.
Yeah.
So if we can shift into the results and the value of that result exponentially,
Right.
and thinking about something that I teach you today and you use for the next 10 years.
Oh, come on,
Yes,
talk about it.
come on.
Like I have a client, I got stories for days.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that really needs to shift is your understanding of money.
Okay.
Money is an energy.
Right.
It is a currency that is supposed to flow. It's supposed to flow in and out. And when we see money for what it really is, just an energy, not an identity marker.
Right.
Because that's what a lot of people look at money as. And that's why they can't charge what they should be charging, because in their mind, they're not worth that much.
Right.
Probably because somebody, when they were a child, told them they weren't. And it's ingrained and it's repeating on, it's broken record for them. But I think if you could change those three things, that's the beginning of actually being able to walk into generating more money, because there's so much money out here.
So
it
much.
never stops moving.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
And you could just reach out and grab it
much as
if
you
you
want.
hold the belief that you are worthy to grab more of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Friday. You're 2 days early because your church is Sunday.
Yeah.
You over here dropping sermons early in the
Listen,
podcast.
I bring the church with me everywhere. I
Oh,
go.
but no, that's a gem though. I mean, because
Yeah.
I think people don't realize the belief part. It's such a big piece, right?
Yeah.
People think it's just fluff, right? Mindset, belief, but it really does change the game if you don't see yourself a certain way or understand how to navigate. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think some of those points are worth diving a little bit deeper into. I love the point number one. You have to see yourself as God sees you, right? Which I think a lot of us need to hear over and over and over again. Point two, though, really resonates with me because one of my mentors told me this, and I never forgot it. He said, the best is not the cheapest, and the cheapest is not the best.
Correct.
And once you understand that concept, that if you are the best, but you're pricing like the cheapest, nobody will believe you.
And here's the thing, I'm going to take it one step further. If you are, because I hear a lot of entrepreneurs who get excited about having an 80 or 90% closing rate.
Right.
No, boo-boo. That's an indication that you're not charging enough.
Right.
Because you should only be closing 20 to 30%.
I just told somebody that. Yep.
And so people get so excited. I'm like, no, don't get excited, because you are undervaluing yourself. And what happens is you show up to serve this client after to inflate the price point to be able to charge them $25K. You've put everything, the kitchen sink, your mom's kitchen sink, your dad's, you put everybody's
your grandkids'
stuff in
future
it,
kitchen
right?
sink.
Yeah.
Just to be able to charge them $25K. And then when you actually show up and deliver, you're resentful because you know good and damn well that you did not charge them enough for what it is you say that you can deliver.
Right.
And because we don't understand that an incremental shift, a 0.5%. Like if you work with corporations, we have clients that work in corporate, in the government, as well as to consumer. If I were able to go to Bank of America and I was able to get them a 0.5 percentage point basis shift in their productivity, that is the equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
But because our frame of reference often as entrepreneurs is so small, we look at these numbers as if they're big, but we actually are just indicating our amateur status and that we don't really understand the value of the solutions that we bring to the market, which is a problem.
Right.
Yeah. And I love solution-based pricing, right? So one of the questions I have for you, and then I'll pass to you, George, for people that used to have a W-2 job, they were trained for the last 10, 15, 20 years of their life, however long they worked in corporate America, that you get paid by trading your value for time.
Correct.
And when they shift into entrepreneurship, they would do what you did. Say, I was making $50 an hour, but I want to make $500. This is crazy.
Right.
How do we shift the mindset from going to selling our life, selling our time for money, to now pricing ourselves at a percentage of the value that we bring to the marketplace?
Yeah. So in order to help my clients do this, I created this bomb.com calculator.
Okay.
Like they literally just put all the numbers in and it spits out what they should charge. But for people who don't have access to that calculator, there's a few distinct things that you have to think about. And where most people go wrong is they set their prices based on just their time, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to cost me 5 hours of my time. I want my time to be worth $100 an hour. Ergo, I'm going to charge you $500.
Right.
Biggest mistake ever. So the formula simply is going to first include your direct costs. So what are the things that in order for you to solve this problem for this client, you have to include? So for example, if you happen to be a coach or consultant, right? It's the easiest business to start at any particular point in time. And let's say that as a coach or consultant, you're working with clients and you're teaching them something. So you create a how-to booklet for them that you're going to go through with them as you're working with them. Whatever it costs you to get that booklet printed and sent to that client will be considered a direct cost. Most people don't include their direct costs. They're only including their time, right? Then on top of that, we need to add in your general and administrative costs. That is the cost for your team member to take the booklet to the post office, put it in the package, and to send it in the mail. We've got to add that on. Then we've got to add on your overhead. So if you have an office in your home, whatever percentage of the square footage of your home is the overhead for your business, which you should be assessing, right? If you've got an internet service provider, that is overhead. Overhead are the things that you have to pay whether someone is your client or not.
Right.
You have to account for all of those things in your pricing, right? And yes, a part of it is your active time, but the part that we often forget is our inactive time. What I had to do to create that booklet, I need to charge you for that. What I have to do to get ready to serve you for whatever amount of time I'm going to be serving you for, I have to account for that as well. And on top of all of that, I need to include the amount of my taxes that I'm going to have to pay, because I'm self-employed, which means I'm going to have to pay 15.7% self-employment tax. And that needs to be included in the price that I charge you. And I need to include my profit. Now, my profit needs to cover what I want beyond this transaction with you. I believe in being profitable at the transaction level. Time is up for waiting until the end of the year to see if there's any money left over. No, every single transaction that comes through your camp, there should be an amount of profit. And ideally, it should be 60% profit at minimum.
Service-based business.
For a service-based business, 60%, right? Because we know retail-based businesses are 50%.
Yeah.
So at minimum, all of that needs to be added on. And then you also have to think about the tax for the client that asks you to do things that takes you outside of the scope.
Yeah, scope creep.
So most people don't account for that in their pricing. And now they're doing all this extra stuff because they want to make the client happy and they want to get the past performance and they want to get the referral.
And they're feeling away the whole time.
Oh, resentful, which is going to impact the money, which is probably a whole nother conversation. And so because they didn't put that tax in there, they've significantly undercharged and they still have to deliver a quality product. And so we just set ourselves up because we don't understand everything that goes into it because we're pulling numbers out of our woo-ha. And we shouldn't, because $500 sounded good when I was talking to Mr. Taylor. But $500 doesn't even really account for the fact that I have to get up, I have to get dressed, I have to get in my car, I have to deal with traffic, I have to go to the airport, I have to park my car, or I have to get dropped off, I have to sit on a plane for 2 hours, both ways. Then I have to get in a car once I get there. All these other things that have to be accounted for just for me to show up and speak for 30, 40, 50 minutes.
Right.
None of that was accounted for in that $500.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually about the hour on stage.
Right. And I didn't know what I didn't know at that particular point in time, which is why I didn't get that deal. Best believe, because the story does get better. Mr. Taylor called me back the next year. I don't know what made him call me back. Maybe it was my story, but he called me back the next year. Now, I had learned some things in this year. I had learned
Price
that
went
we're
up.
not charging $500 for an hour on stage.
Right.
So he calls and he's like, Darnyelle, I would love to have you speak this year. Okay, so now I knew to ask some questions. What's your budget? Right? How many other speakers are you having? Right? Or is every other speaker also being paid out of this budget, or is this your budget for me? Mr. Taylor told me that he had a budget of $10,000 for me to speak. Now, at this point in time, my speaker fee had gone up to $12,500.
From 500 to 12, just
To 12.
And
Just
yeah.
I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is what I said to Mr. Taylor. I said, Mr. Taylor, my fee is $12,500. However, I want to honor the fact that you called me back. So I am going to make an adjustment in my fee to fit within your $10,000 budget so that I can come and speak to your women at the conference. And he brought me in, flew me first class, did all the things, and I got the bag, right?
Yeah.
Because I learned what I didn't know. And so entrepreneurs, if you're out there as you're listening, whatever it is that you charge, I don't care what it is, it's not charging. You're not charging enough. 100% of the clients we work with,
100% of
100% of them, we raise their rates.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Because they didn't account for many of these things that need to be configured in the price in order for them to be in a position to actually have 60% left over to account for their wanting to put into, whatever version of their retirement plan that they might have, to be able to establish the health insurance and life insurance and things that they need because they're no longer someone's W-2 getting those things included in their salary. And so it's important as entrepreneurs that we don't come into entrepreneurship from our scope of being employee and operate the same way. We've got to go learn some things, right? We've got to make sure that we know what we're doing and we're not just pulling numbers out of the air.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
You've obviously evolved probably tremendously since the start of your entrepreneur career, right?
Thank God.
Right, for sure. For us, too.
Yeah. Look, talk about it.
Listen, we understand. And so when I was reading your story, I learned that you kind of were going through a bankruptcy situation, right? So how do we go from that to building an 8-figure empire? Like what's the in between?
Yeah. So I used to be afraid to tell the story, and it happened by mistake. And I won't get into how it ended up coming out, but it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me was to own my truth that I was financially illiterate. I had $250,000 in credit card debt, that I could no longer rob Peter to pay Paul. I couldn't keep up with it. And so the only thing left to do was to actually go through the process of filing bankruptcy. And I'm glad I did. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because now I believe that my bankruptcy trustee had pity on me. I think he looked at the docket. He saw my $250,000 in debt and was like, if I don't help this girl, she's going to be back in my court in a couple of years. And so he required me to take a financial literacy course in order to discharge my bankruptcy. And it changed my life. Now, this was not by any stretch of the imagination what I would today believe to be a normal financial literacy course. Sure, we went over, the banking system. We went over how to budget a checkbook. We went over all of that stuff. But we also went over the psychology and neuroscience of money.
That's not a normal class at all.
No, it's not.
Sure. That's not a normal class at all.
It changed my life. I read a book. I tell everybody I can, if you have never read the book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Cameron Giocondi, get the book.
A happy
pocket full of money.
I'm just going to do it right now. Okay.
And it changed my life because I learned about the spiritual. I think money is spiritual, right? So I learned about the spirituality of money, the neuroscience of money, the flow, the energetics of money, along with the practical application. And so within a year, I was a net worth millionaire. And within 3 years, my business was doing 7 figures, and then my own net worth continued to grow. Today, I'm worth $12 million. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
I love the net worth millionaire because our company is all about helping our clients achieve that first $1 million in net worth. And there's a difference between being a business millionaire and being a net worth millionaire.
Correct. Well, and even if your business does 7 figures, you are not a business millionaire.
Right. Because you're not taking home that money.
Right. You're not taking that money home. And most, depending, now we could get into all of the tax structures and the do's and don'ts and how do you minimize your tax and all of that stuff. But that's, again, it's probably another show. But yeah, so net worth millionaire. And so for me to become a net worth millionaire, there were 3 distinct things. Number 1 was the house. Now, the beautiful thing about my bankruptcy was a Chapter 7, but I got to keep my house as long as I kept paying for my house.
Gotcha.
So I had that house. Nice. I had another house that I had moved out of that was a rental property. Those 2 properties, plus a life insurance policy and some Microsoft and whole life insurance, right? That had the cash value, and some stock in Microsoft is what made me a net worth millionaire within a year of filing bankruptcy at 35 years old.
Within a year, wow, it's a quick turnaround. That's amazing.
Did filing bankruptcy give you any imposter syndrome around who you were?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like so many people, like if they go through a bankruptcy or they have to move back in with their parents, or they go through this life trajectory where they were going on the uphill and then they go back down, they kind of like identify with that quote unquote lower version of themselves. Like how did you not let the bankruptcy affect how you viewed yourself?
Oh no, I let the bankruptcy affect how I viewed myself initially, right?
Yeah.
I think it's hard not to, right? What we have to remember is first and foremost, we're humans. If you cut us, we will bleed. And there's emotion, there is guilt, there are all of those things that are associated with us, especially because 9 times out of 10, especially for people looking like us,
Right.
our identity is tied to our lack of financial worth.
Yes.
Right? So I'm holding an identity that is tied to money and I'm going bankrupt, which means I have literally not a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Well, technically I had a window because I got to keep my house. But technically that's where I am. And I am at that particular point in time an entrepreneur having her own business. And I'm lost.
Yeah.
Because how can I help other people build their business when my business did not keep me from bankruptcy? Right?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, how does that work? Where does that work? Now, it took lots of therapy. It took a happy pocket full of money. It took shifting out of my identity being associated with finances, with money, which is hard because from the time that I was yay high to a grasshopper, it was all about the money we didn't have and that we had to work hard for it and it didn't grow on a tree out back.
Yeah.
That's all it was. That's all I knew, which is why my identity was associated with it in the first place. But when I learned how to separate, when I learned that my identity has never been in question because of who I am and whose I am, and I built my muscle in that thing. It took time. It took lots of work, lots of therapy, lots of all of the modalities, journaling, meditation, visualizations, all the things. It took all of that and a lot of prayer and honestly removing myself from religion.
Okay.
That again, we probably got like 5 episodes.
Yeah, we need to do a series.
Yeah.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
But like, so it took moving all of that out of the way and really getting to know my creator for myself through the filter of my experience of who he created me to be and making the decision to walk in that. Emerson says, once you decide, all of the universe rearranges itself to bring you what you decide. And I decided to take God up on his word that I was created in his image and likeness. And just by making that decision, things started to change. Rumi says, the path emerges as you walk it. I say, God will give you more while you're moving than he ever will if you stand still.
Come on. Hey, look, man.
Hey, okay.
Sunday service.
I believed it. I just believed it enough to take the next step. And then there became evidence. There became actual proof that I was as good as I thought I was because the first client that I helped bring on 3 clients, then the next client that I helped get to $100,000 a year, then the first client I helped get to 7 figures, and then here we are 77 clients later experiencing their first or next 7 figures since 2021, mind you.
Come on now.
And now that thing is, I'm you know, I don't have to prop myself up anymore. I don't have to fake it till I make it. I can live in that thing because I've been constantly shifting my identity and walking into the belief that this is who God says that I am. And he said it before my mom and dad ever had sex to create me. But it took time and it took work. Like, this is not an overnight thing.
Right. That's powerful. And you spoke about a lot about shifting your identity, which I think is huge. So then my question to you is, if you used to tie your identity to money, how do you define success now? How has your identity evolved over time? Like, what does success look like to you?
Yeah.
today?
I love this question for a couple of reasons because I have a lot of money. And so it's going to probably sound really easy for me to say this, but I am detached from money. It does not determine who I am. It does not decide where, you know, how I do anything that it is that I do.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to say that because I have a lot. I have more money than I can give, spend, invest, or save in any minute of any day at any point in time, right? But over time, the way that I've changed my identity is first and foremost, you know, I think it was, what was that movie? Not Easily Broken with Morris Chestnut and Taraji P. Henson. And at the end of the movie, as the credits are rolling, Morris Chestnut's voice says, if you want to know the purpose of a thing, consult the creator of a thing. So I started to consult the creator of this thing, of Darnyelle Antoinette, right?
Yep.
So that was really where it started. And then I looked at what were the other things about me that were not tied to money. And so I started to keep an accomplishments and compliments journal. When people gave me a compliment, it wasn't because of the size of my bank account.
Right.
It was because of the size of my talent. It was because of my greatness. Right. And so I had all of this evidence. We look for the proof that substantiates that the thing that we believe, we can continue to believe that and we can continue to move in the direction of it. And so little by little, as all of this evidence starts stacking up, as I'm doing my work, as I'm reading, I'm putting more in me than I'm putting on me.
Ooh.
Right. I'm not spending my time in front of the TV because I have yet to watch TV and saw money pop out.
Hey, look.
It hasn't happened
Not
yet.
yet. It hasn't happened yet.
Technology's
If it happens,
evolving.
Right.
We'll
It's
somebody
evolving,
let
but-
me know. Okay.
Yes. But since that hasn't happened, I'm reading. I'm filling myself with the things that I don't know so I can expand my knowledge. Because as I expand my mind, I can expand my money and I can expand the mark that I'm here to make on the world. And so I have made that my business of really treating my vessel like a vessel, like a repository, so that I can always pour out. And when I'm pouring out from my abundance. I've lost 50 pounds in the last year.
Wow. Congratulations. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I realized that I was treating some of my vessel the way that it should, but I wasn't treating all of my vessel. And I think that it is hard to sell the dream when you look like a nightmare.
Hey, hold on, man.
Hold on, wait.
Hold on. I got to write that down.
To sell the dream when you look like Donald. We found the clip. We found
Donald. We found the clip.
Wow. But what I love about that is because, we live in an era where everybody's soft, right? It's like, I can understand, like, I'm a very empathetic person. I get it. But like, if we aren't willing to be real with ourselves, we're not going to change.
Tell the truth.
Right? We're not going to change. And so I just love like that statement, because it's like so many people will make excuses and disguised as body positivity or whatever.
Bro, if you're overweight,
it is.
bro, it's unhealthy for you.
Right. It's like whatever it is versus facing the facts, right? And doing something about it.
Yeah, and for me, like, what good was having all of the money and all of the accolades if I couldn't stand to look at pictures of myself? Ooh. I'm on stage at my live event, and this is me talking about me.
Right.
I'm looking at pictures of me, and I'm like, ain't no way.
Well, I'm paying all this money for a videographer and photographer, and I don't even want the content.
Right.
and like, I'd be transparent. Like, I did the research on you, on your Instagram. I was going through, and I came and saw you. I was like, wait a second. I was like, wait a second.
50 pounds in the last year.
Wow. That's an amazing, and that's actually way harder than being an 8-figure entrepreneur.
Oh, way harder.
Right.
Way harder. Because money, once you understand what money is, money, like, it attracts itself to you. I do not have to do anything for money to flow in my direction because I have an amazing, respectful, and loving relationship with money. And because of that, I relate to money like I relate to other people. And it finds me, it follows me, it wants to be with me. But having the discipline to turn down your plate, to like, I gave up sugar for 6 months.
Wow.
And even now that I've introduced sugar back into my diet, I don't even crave it anymore.
Right. So you're in control of it. It's like, if I have it, cool, it tastes good, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to put the
and
fork
it
down.
doesn't set me on a spiral to go back to eating crap.
Yeah.
I just made the decision that I think your health is your wealth, right? The
For sure.
original definition of wealth is wellness and well-being. It didn't have anything to do with money.
Right.
The Bible talks about money, wealth, and possessions 2,300 times. God talked about money, wealth, and possessions more than he talked about heaven or hell.
Yeah.
And part of that is understanding the significance of the vessel that you have, because it is the only earthly possession that you have, quite honestly. And I just decided to wake up. I cannot be out here talking about make the move to millions, but when you get there, you got a BMI of 27, you got high blood pressure, you got high cholesterol, and you on the verge of having diabetes, because that was my story on my 48th birthday, November of 2023.
Wow. And I'm such an advocate of that, because you can't tell me you're a disciplined entrepreneur. I wake up at 6 a.m. I work 12 hours a day, but I look at you and you can't control your diet. Like, how are you controlling an 8-figure company? How are you controlling all these employees, but you can't control the food that you put in your body? And so I think that's huge. And I really love the self-confidence piece that you hit on a little bit before, because Alex Hormozi has this quote, like, you don't become who you want to be by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You become who you are by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, right? So I just think it's very important to keep the promises to yourself, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, it's a deposit into your self-confidence bank account, because you have a stack of undeniable proof saying, hey, when I say I'm done eating sugar, I'll stop eating sugar. When I say I'm going to live in abundance, I'm going to live in abundance. When I say I'm become a person of 8-figure net worth, I did that. And you just look back, and you don't have to rah in the mirror of self-confidence, because you just did everything you told yourself you were going to do.
I am the affirmation, so I don't have to recite them.
Period.
Yeah, the conviction comes from the behavior, right? So it's like you have the proof that this is who I am, because we are the only people that have heard 100% of the lies we've ever told, right?
Correct.
You know, and so I just think that people underestimate how powerful it is to be who you say you are, right? When it comes to your business, when it comes to your body and your bank account.
Right.
So you help entrepreneurs make a lot of money. So you've seen a lot of different businesses, you've seen a lot of different successes. If you had to give us 3, I know you have a ton, but if you had to give us 3 top things that you see that really help businesses get to the next level, what would you say those 3 things are?
Yeah. So the first is actually what I call soul leadership.
Okay.
You have to work on your inner game at 3 times the rate you work on your outer game.
Okay.
That's
Powerful.
probably the first one.
Yeah.
When I meet, now I work primarily with women, especially in my programs for our small business. Now we work across all 3 verticals. So we do small business, corporations, and the government. But for our small business vertical, which makes up about 70% of the work that we do, of that, approximately 90% are women, right? And little girls who were told that they should be seen and not heard. These are now grown women who have a problem marketing their businesses, because that would mean that they are going to be heard, and that goes against what they were taught as children, right?
Yeah.
So working on your inner game at 3 times the rate you work on your outer game will be number 1. Number 2, strategy is important, but strategy is only second to the soul work. But within the strategy, there are 10 distinct things that you need to have a very clear handle on if you want to be successful. So number 1, the person that you are called to serve, right? Your pinnacle client. Number 2, the problem. And we call this the SPICE problem, the specific and substantive, pervasive and persistent, immediate and insurmountable, clear, conscious and contrarian, expensive and expansive problem that you solve. The package that you put that solution in, the promise that package makes, the price of that solution, the plan that you establish, how you promote that plan, how you position that plan, and how you profit from that plan. So all of those things as a part of your strategy is where most people go wrong, because they'll lean heavily. Let's talk about marketing for a second. In this marketplace, you know, there are so many people, when I meet them, when I talk to them, and I'm like, tell me about your marketing. Oh, I put it on social media. Okay, first and foremost, social media is an awareness generation strategy way more than it is a revenue generating strategy, unless you have figured out how to crack the algorithm code where you're getting enough engagement that you can say, buy this, and people buy it. Now, there are some people who have figured that out because they have been consistent and they've been able to do it. But the average entrepreneur who posts on social media, less than 1% of the people that are connected to them ever see what it is that they post. And if we're calling that marketing, we got this thing all wrong, right? And so the strategy piece is really, really important. And then the third thing that's really important for me is going to be a duo, since you only allow me to do 3. And so it's going to be the sales infrastructure, making sure that you have a mechanism to experience leveraged sales. So you don't have to close 1 sale at a time, but you can actually close 10 or 20 or 100 sales at a time.
And it's actually easier closing 100 sales at a time than closing 1 sale at a time, which took me way too long to learn, you know?
Way easier. And then the second part of that is going to be the systems and infrastructure that you put in place so that you can multiply, duplicate, and replicate. Because most people get scaling wrong. Scaling is not about speed.
Right.
Scaling is about multiplying, duplicating, and replicating. And most entrepreneurs who are just getting started, or those who think you can scale to 6 figures, stop telling that lie.
Right.
There's nothing to scale. You don't even know who you are yet.
You can get a job making 6 figures.
Right. People oops their way to 6 figures every day and twice on Sunday. But if you want to get to 7, you're going to need to have a real strategy. You're going to have a very clear soul leadership plan, and you're going to need to have a sales infrastructure and the right systems to support you as you do.
Facts.
And then eventually you're going to have to build out a support team too.
Facts.
Yeah. I love that, because You basically hit a lot of core pillars of just how do you actually operate a business. I feel like people think they're an entrepreneur, but they're really just, they really quit their job and hired themselves as a worse boss than their old boss. And they don't actually know where they're going in business. So now that you laid out that game plan, which I think anybody can take that game plan and run with it and become a more successful business owner today than they were yesterday, what are some common pitfalls that you see working with all these clients that you work with? That you say you have 77 clients become millionaires?
Since 2021.
Since 2021.
Their first or next 7 figures.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were they missing most? Like, what were the biggest problems that they were having that caused them not to get that solution without you?
Yeah, there are 3. Pricing, positioning are the 2 biggest, and then the systems.
Can we break down each one of those?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about pricing already, right? So 100% of the time when I meet an entrepreneur, small business owner, they have a 7-figure business the moment I meet them. It's just not packaged, priced, or positioned correctly. They're not charging enough. They don't even understand the inherent value of the solution they bring to the market. So they are vastly underpriced. Positioning, they are going after a client that can't afford their services.
Let's talk about that.
If you keep getting, I can't afford that, or that's out of my budget every time you do a sales call, you're not targeting the right people. You got to raise your message, right? And you can't raise your messaging without also raising your positioning, how you stand in the market. We talked about it earlier, right? You cannot say that you are the best of the best, but your price has a 7 on the end.
Yeah. Because of the 997 people.
Yes. Stop it. Because first of all, affluent buyers, they are not going to buy the thing with the 7. They want the thing with the 0. Because okay.
Yeah. No, but that's a sales strategy. So anybody that's not listening, a lot of people have been told to price. So if you want to sell something for $20,000, you don't put it at $20,000. You put it at $19,997 because people look at 7 like, oh, that's not $20,000. It's only $19. It's only $3 difference, but it's sales psychology. But to your point, premium people do not buy things if they're not at a premium price.
It almost feels disrespect. Like, really, this is what
and
we
they
doing?
Don't want the discount. Like the whole point of it. It was designed for online marketing that does not require a conversation. It was designed so that people would see it. They would see the 7 and they would immediately say, oh, this is discounted. Let me buy it. But if you are selling anything that's $20,000, why in the hell would you mark it down to $19,997 first and foremost? Because you can't. Anyway.
But it works if you're going, like, if it's $1,000 client and you price at $997, it will convert better.
Maybe it will. It depends. Like there are so many variables that determine whether or not you put a 7 or a 0 on an end and how well it converts and what kind of client you get. So it's not as simple as just, okay, put a 7 on the end. And if you're selling online, people will buy more of it. It's not that simple. There are so many different things.
For sure.
And the point of this in this moment specifically is you cannot say you are high but charge low. There has to be consistency in position. Some people ought to be offended and feel like they are being excluded from your pricing. Hence the 20 to 30% conversion as opposed to 80 to 90% conversion. Sure, there is a time and a place for everything in the market, right? In this market that we're in now, low ticket is making a comeback. But we also have to see low ticket for what it is. Low ticket does not transform. And if you are out here with a message that says you are going to transform at a low ticket, stop lying and tell the truth. Because the client you want, and the whole reason why we do these tripwires and these lower price services is because we ultimately want to build the ladder to get them to the higher end thing. But the client that you really want wants to go straight to the higher end thing. They don't want all of these Band-Aids. They want the solution. And you've got to understand it. So that's why positioning is the second thing that I really see that is a pitfall. And then the third thing is taking too long to hire. Now, when you first start your business, I am of the belief, and I no longer work with people who are just starting their business. But when you are first starting, I am of the belief that the first year in your business, you should be doing everything except for the legal things and the financial things, unless the business that you are starting is like you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, right? Somebody else should be doing those two things. Everything else you need to do. Why? Because you need to create standard operating procedures and standard automating procedures of how you want things done in your company. And you also need to have a barometer of how when you do things and get a result, so that when you start hiring people and they do not get the result with your procedures, you know that you need to fire them because they are not the right fit for your business. So year one, you should be doing everything. But then in year two, you need to start hiring. And what you delegate first is you delegate your service delivery and your admin.
Yeah.
So you need to bring on someone who can be you as quickly as possible. Once you have proven concept, you have set up all of the procedures for what it is that you do, you need to start hiring more of you. That's the only way you're going to scale. Otherwise, your business is going to be limited and it's not going to grow because you have a good job if you're lucky. And an entrepreneur, a CEO, the E is not for everything. It's executive. That means strategically presiding over the business and working on it, not in it. So if you have to be there every day to earn, you don't have a business that you can scale. You can't get to 7 figures. I talk about this in my book, Move to Millions, the proven framework to become $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind, because that is where people make the mistake. They wait too long to hire.
Yep.
You got to get team. And I'm not saying you have to go out and hire a $80,000 a year FTE.
Right.
But if you can get somebody who you can bring in for 10 or 20 hours a week to take service delivery off your plate, so that gives you 10 or 20 more hours to be in the rooms where the deals are being closed, it would be worth it to you to be able to do that versus you being stuck behind the service delivery for your clients and not actually being able to move your business forward.
Right. And I think that's also part of the identity shift, right? Is because if you were the best advisor or best accountant or best whatever, right, and then you are starting to build a business that requires you to put those operators in place for you to scale and focus on the thing, you're having a hard time letting go because you're associating your identity with that role.
Correct.
Right. And so I think that's even a shift that I had to make years ago. It's like, I can't hang my hat on being the best financial advisor, right? I need to be the best CEO for the business that can fly this plane. The analogy I always like to use is if our business was an airplane, the CEO is responsible for flying the plane, right? What do I look like coming back and asking you, are the peanuts warm?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, get back in the cockpit.
Right, exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Or
now,
like I use Beyonce as an example, right? She shows up and shakes it. She don't open them curtains. She don't know how many tickets are like she's not tracking that. She's letting somebody else put her wig on and do her makeup so she can just put on a little outfit and shake, right? And that's the same thing. That's ultimately what we need to do as CEOs. We need to show up and shake it. That's it.
And do what only you can do. That's what it boils down to. Only she can be Beyonce.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's just the identity shift that most leaders have to make. So you've obviously built, 8-figure personal net worth. You've built an 8-figure business. You've helped several women achieve their first or next 1 million in net worth. You've already hit so many milestones and overcome so many things, right? What does the next 5 years look like for you?
This is a question that I'm grappling with right now, to be completely honest and transparent. I know that as much as I've done, there's more. My word for the year that God gave me is bigger. I have a tendency to hide and to stay in the seat of comfortability. Yes, me, right? And I know that I need to take up more space. And so for me, these next 5 years and what I'm doing right now is I'm hiring a leadership team. And putting more leaders in place on my team. Now, I've already had it such that I don't have to be present for my business to earn money. And we've been able to do that for years. I need a higher level of leaders on the team. So that's one of the things that we're doing is we're building out our leadership team because I'm the talent. And ultimately, I need to be available when I write my next book and Oprah calls and says, let's sit down and talk about it. Right. And so also allowing myself to come out from my comfort zone and to get into more spaces like this, to have the conversations and to say the things that people need to say. I'm very clear. There's an anointing on my life, and the words as they come out of my mouth and pierce people's souls are what creates the cataclysmic shift to help them to transform their life. And I am being selfish. I have been selfish to keep that to myself and to keep it to my community of entrepreneurs and small business owners who know that I'm the best thing since pockets. And so a visibility play is
I've
at
never
stake.
heard that. That's hilarious. But what was life without pockets?
I mean, what would we do if we didn't
Fumbling,
have
holding
pockets?
stuff.
Right,
Right,
exactly. Sometimes you
That's
don't want to have to
hilarious.
carry your purse or your man bag, right? So visibility is important, and I'm building a $100 million portfolio.
Okay.
That's the goal. So right now I am acquiring companies that are going to extend the service that we can offer to our clients, right? So I bought 2 businesses last year. Have more businesses on the docket this year. And so we're looking to own all of the things that our clients need so that when I write them a strategy to get their business to $5 million in 24 months, and I say, you need this and this and this, I own the production studio. I own the marketing agency. I own the accounting and CPA firm.
Right.
Everything that they need is actually a part of my conglomerate. And so that's what we're working on now.
Vertical integration at its finest.
That is absolute finest.
Yeah, and those are some of the conversations that we're actively having right now with ourselves. Because every time people think about like 7 multiple streams of income, they're not realizing like it's already in your business.
Yeah, you have 7 streams of income in the same business.
Turn your biggest expenses into your profit centers as well. Like, how much money am I sending out the door?
Correct.
Right? How can I bring that in house?
Correct. And can we just right there?
Yeah.
Because people get this wrong. Yes, 7 income streams, but not all at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But no. But that's not what people do. They go set up all these 7 income streams. Each income stream is its own business.
Right.
And without the proper infrastructure and systems, you're trying to chase 7 rabbits.
Yeah.
If you can't chase 2 rabbits and catch them, how in the hell are you going to chase 7?
Exactly.
So you don't get the next one up and running until the first one is solid and making 7 figures. I tell my clients that all the time. Like, even offers. One offer takes you to 7 figures. You don't need 7 offers in your suite to make 7 figures. No, you just need one well done, positioned, and packaged offer to make 7 figures.
That's a fact. Well, here's what I know. I know our listeners are going to listen to this episode. They're going to say, how can I get in contact with this woman?
Yeah.
Right. So can you let our audience know, if someone wanted to work with you, where do they go? How do they find out more about, what it is exactly that you do and how you can serve them?
Yeah, the best place to go is movetomillions.com.
Okay.
From there, you'll be able to learn.
Man, you got that domain? Man, okay.
Yeah, movetomillions.com.
Okay.
You can learn about my podcast, the book, our events.
You got an event coming up too, right?
I do. Yep.
What's the name of that event? When is it?
Move to Millions.
All on
Listen,
brand.
if we are not anything, we are consistent. Everything Move to Millions. So yes, Move to Millions Live. Our theme this year is bigger. It's a 3-day experiential live event experience. It's not a conference. It's a call to your first or next 7 figures. We focus on the soul and strategy that will allow the systems and support that you put in place to be indicative of building a 7-figure company.
Okay, we'll make sure we link all of that in the show notes. So it's no secret that we are here to super serve people that look like us, right? We understand that, we didn't have the financial literacy. We didn't have the information. We didn't have the access. But luckily, we got leaders like you and other people we've had on our show who are helping lead that charge and moving people to billions.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is to you, what does being a melanin millionaire mean to you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just love it. I love a good alliteration. And as a Black woman who comes from drug addicted turned crack addicted parents, born in the projects of Wilmington, Delaware, without the pot or the window, today to be the first millionaire in my family. My younger brother, who is one of my clients, is actually taking the Move to Millions stage this year because he has made the Move to Millions.
Hey, shout out, bro.
Working with his sister.
Yeah, I love it.
And so we are the 2 millionaires in our family. Like, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
It is important for forums and platforms like this, and the one that I have of my own, that we teach financial literacy, right? Like, we are only 400 and some years removed from picking cotton in this country. And so to be a woman who has an 8-figure net worth, bona fide, it's amazing. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams.
Yeah, I literally got chills when you said it. Like,
literally,
just thinking about it.
I did that, right? I did that with the knowledge and the greatness that God placed on the inside of me. I did it in spite of the odds, against the obstacles. I kept getting up every time I knocked down every failure that was a precipice to the success that I've experienced. And I've only just tipped the iceberg. It's a big deal. It is really a big deal. And that's part of the reason why I can't hide, right? I cannot be sitting in my comfort zone while there are other people who need to know that there there's a woman out there who looks like them, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, a millionaire by the time I was 35, 8 figures net worth by the time I was 45. Like, you know, I'm going to be 50 this year. This is my year of Jubilee. And to know that I've got so many more years to go, and I can be that example. I can be that look that tells that little girl right now who is sitting at the dinner table where they're eating whatever they could muster up together, and she has that thought in her mind that says, I'm going to be rich one day, because that was me. As I watched all of the chaos around me, I didn't know where it came from, but I knew that money was not going to be my problem at some point in time in my life. And to be here today with so many success clues that I can share with others it's powerful. It is something that I don't take lightly. And I'm really excited to be able to continue the charge and help other people understand how to shift.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your just wealth of wisdom. To be honest with you, like we just got back from New York yesterday, like 2:30, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was tired. But the moment you started speaking, you shifted my energy. Yeah. Right. And so just thank you for who you are for the world. I know that, you know, your obedience is tied to a lot of people's destiny, and you're shifting a lot of lives. And we just thank you for coming on our show and blessing our audience.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Until next time, guys. Peace.